Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for my first video of 2022, I want to speak about 2021. I don't linger in the past. No. um yeah, basically this is my 2021 wrap up. It is gonna include how I felt the reading year went. It is gonna include my top 10 books I read this year and my bottom 5. We'll get through those very quickly, I promise. So let's just let's just get rid of those bottom 5s, shall we? And just get on with it. If I keep looking over here, it's because my notepad is on a bookshelf over here, reminding me of little things. So these are in no particular order, with the exception of the first one, which was definitely the absolute very bottom. Okay? And with the exception of this first one, I think certain fans are going to shoot me. None of these were bad books. They were just books that didn't work for me. 3 out of the 5 were DNFs. Yeah, so the first one was The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. Going into this, I knew this wasn't going to work for me. I knew chances are I wasn't going to finish it, but I gave it a shot anyway. One of my colleagues had been reading it, who had, she was so adorably excited about this. She was so enthusiastic about it that I was like, yeah, sure, I'll read that as well. Yeah. She promised me it was nothing like Twilight. I promise you, she's so much better. And oh, honestly, at the end of the day, my biggest issue with this book was that you could tell Stephanie Meyer was trying so hard to say to the world, look, I can write non-YA, I can write adult fiction, I can write something other than Twilight. And that pressure she was putting on herself, I mean, maybe she wasn't, but this is what I got from it. It's just that it came across too clearly, and that's all I basically took from it. She was trying so hard to show that she could write a very good sentence, that it just nothing flowed naturally. There was a sentence where she was referring to like hiding from CCTV, and instead of saying I hid from the CCTV, she said I hid from the closed circuit television system. And it immediately draws you out. I couldn't connect with the character whatsoever. Yeah, that was just my honest thoughts is do yourself a favor and avoid this book. But if you are a fan of Stephanie Meyer, then you might still enjoy this. Obviously, people are enjoying this book. Yeah, so that was the only one that I was really like, oh, with. The other 4, so I've put All Systems Red, the first Murderbot. I know the series has a huge following, but I think I'd heard so much hype about it that it was amazing. It's like character driven. It's such character focus on a robot who doesn't want to do his job and just wants to sit and watch soap operas, that by the time I got to it, my overall feeling was, is that it? So yeah, like I say, the next one was Rosewater, which I've got here, by Tate Thompson. New Angle, don't know where I hold books. This one, I might continue with the series one day. I don't think it's going to be this year. This is basically a near future First Contact sci-fi set in Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria. Really interesting concept. I really like the way the author approached the First Contact. Now, I haven't read a huge amount of sci-fi, so I can't say if it's new or not, but there you have it. It was new to me, it felt unique to me. There's a lot of time hopping within the storyline. We've got present day, past, present day, past, present day, past, and it didn't flow well. I don't mind time hopping within a book, but it's got to be done right, and this one just didn't work for me. I found it very jarring. I'd be in the present, say, and I'd finally be getting into it. Yeah, okay, right. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I'm back in the past now. Huh? Oh, okay, right, okay. And we would get into that, and then suddenly we're jumping again, and it didn't work for me. It didn't flow. Yeah. And combined with that, I can't stand the main character. I find him wholly unlikable. he seems like a real character. I think he's written really well. He is, he doesn't seem, he's not two dimensional. He feels like a real person, but he's a real person that I would not like. Yeah. The next one I've got is Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson. So Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews is doing a Malazan read along. So I started the start of the year with him. I read Gardens of the Moon. I was kind of about Gardens of the Moon, but for the most part I was like, okay, it's fine. It feels like maybe it's a series that will grow on me. And then we got to Dead House Gates and we got a complete new cast of characters, and from what I can tell going forward it's going to happen at least 2 or 3 more times where I'm just going to be thrown into a different part of the world, a whole new host of characters, and there's already so much to keep track of. And on top of that, the writing is not the most accessible. It is really intense read, and I only like one character in this book, and they made her a drug addicted prostitute. Spoiler, sorry. So yeah, I got about a third of the way through this book and I was like, nope, I can't. It's about a month and I only got this far into it and it's like, I can't do this. So yeah, Dead House Gates didn't work for me. Again, very popular series, just not for me. And then the last one, which I think is my biggest disappointment because I wanted to love this book so much. I feel like on paper, everything out of this book I should love. I just don't. I don't dislike it, I just don't like it either. So this was on my 12 books to read in 2022. I kind of cheated and started reading it in December, just for lack of inspiration and anything else I wanted to read. That is the Lies of Lokimora. So again, I started reading. I didn't get very far into it. I started on the audio. I got about 6 hours into it. And I'm not connecting with the characters. I honestly don't care about anything that's going on. I can understand why people genuinely love this. I can understand why it is so popular. It's just not working for me. And I'm really quite sad about that. But yeah, anyway, I spent a bit longer talking about the books that didn't work for me than expected, so I don't think this is going to be a very short video. So shall we pop into the books that I did really enjoy? Because that's going to be fun. Okay. I have put them in order. I mean, the exception of books 1 and 2, the order will change depending on what day of the week. I can guarantee if I were to put them in order again tomorrow, it might rearrange a little bit. I think the same 10 would stay there, but 3 to 8, 3 to 10 are just they're gonna do a wee bit of jiggery hopscotch. But for the time being, at number 10, I have put The Wizards of Once, Never and Forever. This was the conclusion to the Wizards of Once series by Krista Cowell. She wrote the How to Train Your Dragon books. Absolutely adored this. At its heart, it is about friendship and acceptance and just doing the right thing, even if it's not necessarily the easiest thing. And maybe learning to look beyond yourself. It is absolutely beautiful. It is middle grade, so it is for a younger audience, but I don't care. I listened to the audiobook. It was narrated by David Tennant, who just did it absolutely beautifully, fantastically. 10 out of 10, brilliant job. Yeah. If you want a series that's relatively easy to read, but is just so charming, The Wizards of Once. Honestly, I think I like them better than How to Train Your Dragon books. And I love dragons, so, you know. Number 9, I have put Nimona! This is the only graphic novel on here. I want to say it's the only graphic novel, but I've read this year, but I did read the first bit of the first few Sandman books. This is adorable. It is charming. It's just, I love this. Go read it. That's all I need to say. It is focusing on a villain and his sidekick, and kind of shows you that not everything is as it seems, and there's more to people than just what you see on the surface. And it was just an absolutely brilliant, easy read. The artwork is wonderful. Can you see the artwork? It's so pretty. Yeah, just it stole my heart. I'm gonna say this about all of these books. So number 8. What did I put for number 8? Oh, number 8. I thought I put that higher. See what I mean? The numbers are going to keep changing. But for number 8, I've put Aristotle and Dante. I'm kind of cheating here because I'm just putting Aristotle and Dante because I read Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe and Dive into the Waters of the World both this year. Both on audio, both narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda, both absolutely fantastic. Just beautifully written, heartwarming story of two boys who find each other, develop this beautiful friendship, but then further develops into more, and how they come to accept themselves for who they are, the acceptance they find within their family and their community, and it's just, it just leaves you feeling warm inside and thinking that, you know what, the world is a really ugly place, but it's also a really beautiful place. Number 7. Oh, number 7. So number 7, I put House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This was a really interesting, it was a really surprising, and it was such a happy surprising book. Because again, I listened to it again. I'm not 100% certain who it was narrated by. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I almost DNF'd this book. Because the first couple of hours listening to it, I was like, oh, this is a bit... Okay, it's going to be a kind of preachy book, right? Okay, I know what the moral of this book is already. Acceptance again. It's a theme of my top books right now. But by the time... As I was sort of thinking, I was like, I might DNF it. So I gave it another couple of hours, and it slowly, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it another hour. Okay, I'll give it another hour. And by the time I was halfway through it, I was hooked. I was so thoroughly invested in this book and in these characters and in the children. I needed to continue listening and reading to make sure that they were okay in the end and that everything worked out. Because even though I knew it would, because this book was not going this was not going to end on a bad note. Oh my gosh, by the end of the book, I was absolutely charmed off my socks. I was in love. It's just such a warm hug in a book, and that's the best way to describe it. Again, at its heart, it's about acceptance. You know what? The world needs a lot of acceptance right now, so if you want a warm hug in a book, a book that's just going to leave you feeling soft and fuzzy and smiling about the day, The House in the Cerulean Sea, it is definitely the one to go with. Yeah. So, number 6. Number 6 was a series that was new to me. I have since... I'm picking book 1 to represent just the entire series. I've actually just this morning finished the 3rd one. And that is The Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. These are brilliant. They're really easy reads. They are about a sassy... so they're not set in Victorian England or the Victorian era, but it's like an alternative version of our Victorian era. So this is about a sassy female natural historian who, as the title would suggest, focuses on dragons, because dragons exist in this world. And this is her memoirs, and showing sort of like how she went from it. Basically, this starts at a very young age up till I don't know when exactly we're going to finish, because I've still got another 2 to go. But yeah, if you want a sassy romp of a read, Lady Trent is just the best. It's funny at times. I'm trying not to say sassy too much, but that is the word that describes these books. She's just so blunt and to the point sometimes, and yeah. Hugely recommend these ones. So, that was number 6. Where is number 5? Number 5, again, this was another series I started this year. It was a trilogy, and I finished it. And that was the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I started this, again, this was another one where early on I nearly DNF'd it. because the first sort of quarter to half of this book, I was like, like I kind of see what I like about this, but at the same time, oh, I don't know. A good portion of this one and the entire series is told in second person. So you are the main character. You did this. You then went on to do this, and that really annoys me. I know it's always going to be one of those narration choices that very few click with. It's definitely not a narration choice that clicks with me, and it took me a long time to get used to it. It's yeah. It was almost a DNF. It was really getting to me at time. But then I don't know, something happened and I started gelling with it. And by the time I finished this one, I was already on the Waterstones website making sure that my local store had a copy. I within about 2 days of finishing this, I had the other two in my hands, and I pretty much finished them all within the space of about a month. It's I think this gets classed as sci-fi, fantasy, sci-fi. Whatever the genre is that combines the two. It's an amazing, a brilliant magic system. Really, dare I say, unique. Now, I have read a decent amount of fantasy, so I can say the fantasy system is pretty unique. The characters, once you kind of really get to know them, you really get to see how they click. They're really interesting. The world building was amazing. But yeah, the magic system. This gives Sanderson a run for his money, and that has to say something, right? So yeah, 5th season. Number 4. Right, for number 4 is another audiobook. There's a few audiobooks on this. I had a really good audio year. But yeah, number 4 is, I've gone with Hero of Ages. So I read my first Brandon Sanderson trilogy this year, and obviously that was the Mistborn trilogy, Mistborn Era 1. So I picked Hero of Ages because I felt like I really enjoyed book 1. Book 2, oh yeah, okay, I really liked that. Book 3, I was blown away. I think it also helped that by the time I got to book 3, another colleague of mine had kind of caught up, and we were both listening to it at the same time. Particularly the last sort of like 2 hours or so. I was at home messaging him, and he's messaging me, like, "Oh my god, this!" And he's 20 minutes ahead of me at one point, going, "Oh my god, message me in 20 minutes." The world building, the character work, the magic system, he just did everything brilliantly. All 3 books are almost their own contained story, but you've got to read them in order because they do connect and they do lead into each other. I suspect he's very good at that. Oh, you think it's all over? Bam! Now you gotta go read the second one because I just dropped something on you. Yeah, not quite cliffhangery, but enough to be like, I wasn't planning on reading the next one, but now I am. Thanks. Yeah, really, 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 really absolutely fell in love with these books. I am planning to maybe start the Stormlight Archive at some point in the next year. I think Brandon Sanderson could become a favourite author. Yeah. So that was Hero of Ages at number 4. And at number 3, we've got A Man Called Uva by Frederick Beckman. I had to think about the author there for a minute. This one was, oh my lord, how do you describe A Man Called Uva? This is the book you read if you need a good cry, because cry you will. It is about a man who has recently lost his wife and is now basically tying off loose ends, doing what he needs to so that he can then take his own life and go join her because he doesn't see the point of being here without her. It's, yeah, the content, it's not for the soft-hearted, for the faint of heart rather, should I say. Uva does try to commit suicide a few times, and thankfully, spoiler alert, they're stopped, they're interrupted. But at the heart of this book, it is about figuring out how to go on, figuring out where your place in life is, what is your purpose when suddenly it's everything has changed. Um, the character work in this was second to none. Honest to God, second to none. Um, and just the way the community builds itself around Uva, who he is this super grumpy old man. He has pretty much isolated himself from everybody. You know, at the start of the book, he has no friends to call on, no family to call on. He is just on his own, but new neighbors move in across and start interacting with him. We rebuild bonds with previous like friends who've had falling out, and just yeah, it's beautiful. It's heartwarming. It's wholesome. It's you're gonna want to cry. I kind of want to start crying right now just thinking about it because it's just you're gonna laugh at the same time. You're gonna cry for good and bad reasons, and it's just as far as character studies goes and character driven books go, this one was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the only reason it didn't make 1 and 2 is because Uva was my third favourite character this year. And at the end of the day, my enjoyment of books is very much going to come from the characters. So, what made number 2? The Imaginary Corpse. Tippy. How could Tippy not make this list, honestly? The Imaginary Corpse is a book which focuses on the idea that if you have an idea such as an imaginary friend or a main character in a book you're thinking about writing, something like that, this idea, this character, this friend who is just so real to you that they are real. What happens to them when something tragic happens? And it's pretty much always something tragic. But what happens to them when that tragic thing happens and you don't need them anymore? You don't want them, you don't need them, that they can't be with you anymore. Well, they go to a place called Still Real, where imaginary friends go when they're no longer needed. You can't die in the Still Real, except there's this new friend, bad guy going about, who is managing to kill these ideas. And it's up to Tippy, who is a sunflower, sunshine, yellow, triceratops plushie detective. And he has to go about figuring out what's happening. When Tippy's had a really bad day, he sort of like de-stresses and relaxes by popping himself in the tumble dryer. I mean, is that not just the cutest thing ever? Yeah, this, honest to God, some absolutely amazing characters in here. I don't know what I was going to say there. Brilliant characters. The settings are as diverse as they come. It's an amazing concept where you can have like a playtime town, basically like a toddler playset right next to what is essentially Gotham. It's obviously not called Gotham City, but what is essentially Gotham City, next to the sea. You go swimming with memory whales. This book is soft and dark and hard and tragic and fluffy and cute and wholesome, and basically a whole bunch of contradictory descriptions that shouldn't work together, but the author just did such an amazing job of pulling it all together and pulling it off. I so far have made at least 3 people I know read this, as in like real life people that I know read this. I've got a 4th one lined up. I will be giving her the book next week. I genuinely, I need everyone to go out and buy this book and read this book and start bombarding the author with news of a sequel, because, or the publishing house with news of a sequel, because I need a follow-up. That's all. And then the last one I don't have a physical copy for because I listened to it again, and I'm so glad I listened to it, because this book, I think it worked best listened to just because of the way one of the characters communicates. Do you know what links this with my book number 1 is, despite the fact that I cannot stand spiders, both of these authors made me like a spider something. The book number 1 is Project Hail Mary. I actually listened to this book twice this year because it was utterly, utterly brilliant. It is by the same author as The Martians by Andy Weir. It's really hard to talk about without spoilers. It's just, it starts off where you've got Grace, Ryland Grace, who wakes up in the sort of like medical bay type area of spaceship, completely lacking all of his memories. But slowly they start to come back, and as the memories come back, we get flashbacks into the past leading up to how Ryland got on to the Hail Mary, which is the ship he's on. This is an example of dual timelines working perfectly. He just made them seamless and perfect, and they were never jarring or anything. They worked so well. And yeah, as all the memories come back, Ryland realizes why he's there, what he needs to do, basically save Earth. I'm trying to figure out what to say about it without giving major spoilers, and I can't. I can't say much about it without massive spoilers. But my absolute favorite character is in this book. I adore the themes of this book, but I can't tell you what they are. I genuinely have absolutely no criticisms whatsoever about this book. Whilst I imagine it is a really brilliant read, and I'm basically just waiting for it to become on paperback so I can actually buy a copy myself. It does benefit from the audio just because of the way one of the characters communicates. Whilst I have flicked through it in Waterstone, so I know that on paper it's conveyed quite well, but it's meant to be listened to. This book is meant to be listened to. Anyone reading it or new to reading it, initially it's gonna feel kind of Martian-y. It's your first 50 to 100 pages or so, you're going to be reading it going, he's basically rehashing The Martian, and then something's going to happen and you go like, nope, this is definitely not The Martian. It has the same humor and the same feel and the same writing style as The Martian, which worked really well with me. There's a lot of science within it, which, I mean, I was never questioning it. It was never explained in such a way that I was like, yeah, right, really? But also at the same time, it never felt like I was like just reading a bunch of words and none of them making sense. I think he puts the science across really well. I don't know if that's just because I work in science, but I think to anyone who doesn't work in science, it's really accessible. Yeah. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I wish I could say more about it. I really wish I could tell you truly what I absolutely love about it, but I can't until everyone in the world has read it. Yeah, it was brilliant. So that was my bottom 5, followed up by my top 10. What are you guys' top 10? If I've not already watched a video of you, I know a couple of you have already done it. But yeah, I want to know, what were your highlights? What were your lowlights? Yeah. As a general overview, sort of like looking back at 2021, I think I had a pretty decent reading year, actually. Particularly compared to 2020, which was just, the world fell apart. My reading motivation fell apart. It was a year-long reading slump. It was not good. In 2020, I think I read like 26 books. This year, I read 52. 53 if you include my reread of Project Hail Mary. I read 53 books this year. I do have this weird goal of I want to read my height, so I do pile books up. I have taken a picture of them all piled up, and if I can figure out how to make that a thumbnail, how to make a low enough quality thumbnail that YouTube will accept it. Because I tried to use a picture once and YouTube hated it. I will show you all my books stacked up. I did measure them though, because I'm insane that way, and they came to 4 feet 7 inches. I'm 5'3", so I've got another 8 or so inches worth to read. I think I can do it. Actually, no, if I'm including my second listen to of Project Hail Mary, that was probably, I think it was easily like 2 inches. I was probably closer to 4'8", 4'7". Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a couple more inches to read before I can make that goal. I interestingly, like I don't have the graphics or the stats in front of me, but I was looking back over sort of like the authors I've read, and that sort of thing. I've read, so I didn't set any goals for myself this year. 2020, because it was such a terrible reading year. This year, last year, 2021, my goal was to just not have any goals, to just read what I want to read what the mood strikes me, and just enjoy reading again. And it definitely worked. But because I didn't specifically set out to go, right, I want to read X amount of nonfiction, or I want to read X amount of LGBTQ works, or this many works by authors of colour. Because I didn't do any of that, I was really curious to see what my reading would be like. And I'm really pleased to say that it was significantly more diverse than possibly could have been expected. Again, I don't have any of the numbers in front of me, but I read a significant more works that included LGBTQI plus characters, a number of books by people of colour, authors of colour, basically a number of books by British or American authors. I'm losing words. I'm running out of words now. Yeah, just in general, I think my male to female author ratio is pretty decent. Overall, ratings wise, I think it was predominantly 4s and 5s. A couple of sort of like 3.5s, but with the exception of my bottom 5, they were pretty much the only 5 books that disappointed me this year. So yeah, overall, I think 2021 was a very good reading year for me. I'm not going to go into my 2022 goals because I'm going to make that another video, because I'm very aware that this video is getting quite long. So I'm going to wrap up there. Excellent reading year. Much more diverse than I was expecting it to be, which I don't know if that's a reflection on me or just a reflection on what's available, but either way, I think it's definitely a positive thing. It's definitely a sign of good things. And yeah, again, like I say, let me know what your 2021 reading highlights were. What were your lowlights if you had any? And I will see you all in the next video.